Did you know that one of Wimbledon's most valuable employees is not even a human being? His name is Rufus, and he's actually a hawk. Rufus is a Harris hawk, and he has been gainfully employed by the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club for 15 years. Now, even though that sounds like a pretty long tenure in this type of job, he is not the first hawk to inhabit this position. He actually took over for a hawk before him named Hamish. But both of their jobs are exactly the same. Wimbledon is played on grass courts, which means that the groundskeepers spend most of the year between the end of the tournament and the start of the next one, resodding and maintaining all of the grass courts that are utilized for the tournament. When I visited Wimbledon last month and got a tour, I learned a ton about how meticulous that process is, which I can make videos explaining about as well. But one of the most important things about maintaining that grass is dealing with vermin. Because these courts are real grass with real sod, they have to deal with tons of vermin, like pigeons and mice trying to get into the grass to hunt themselves. And of course, if that actually does happen, they damage the grass in a way that is bad for the competition. And when I did my tour, one of the things that the tour guide pointed out was that not only do they deal with your standard vermin that you would expect to see, but the London area has wild foxes. And that means that they would have issues where wild foxes would get into the courts and they would actually fight with each other in the middle of center court, which of course destroys the grass and causes a ton of problems. Enter Rufus the hawk. Rufus the hawk is actually brought to Wimbledon throughout the year and flies through the entire 42 acres in order to scare off these vermin. In addition to his visits that are generally a little bit more spaced out throughout the year, he actually works the entirety of the championships daily, and he actually did the same for the 2012 Summer Olympics. And in the summer of 2012, Rufus was actually stolen from Wimbledon. He was returned a few days later unharmed, but this was a massive outcry given how beloved this bird is. Now, other than the tournament itself, when Rufus is employed every single day by Wimbledon, he is also employed by other places in England, like Westminster Abbey, in order to also scare off pigeons. And Rufus is just one of a huge crew of employees who make it possible for Wimbledon to take place on grass courts in the way that it does. But I have to say, out of all of the professional hawks I've heard of, he's definitely a top pick for me, and one of the most valuable players in sports. And so as Wimbledon kicks off in earnest on Monday, be sure to remember that a lot of this is made possible by your pal Rufus. Had you heard of Rufus the Hawk before? Are you watching Wimbledon this year? And if so, who do you expect to win? Be sure to follow along, as I will be sharing a ton of facts that I learned from my tour when I was there in May, and of course I'll be waiting to see who wins this Grand Slam.